Recent reports just revealed the hidden procurement deals and multi-million-dollar rebate strategies that chooses the American baby's first formula before the mother even enters the delivery room. The formula sample bag you're handed in the hospital isn't a medical recommendation, it's a corporate contract, and this is the truth you should know about.
Two companies are competing for the same hospital contract right now. One will win, the other will lose. None of that competition has anything to do with which formula is better for your baby. American hospitals send roughly 3.5 million mothers home every year with a bag of formula samples. That bag is not a gift. It is the opening move in a customer acquisition strategy worth an estimated $1,500 per family over 2 years. The brand in that bag did not get there because a doctor chose it. It got there because a procurement department signed a contract that made it cheaper to stock than the alternative. And the moment that brand touched your baby's lips for the first time, in a hospital room, in the first hours of new parenthood, that company had what the industry calls a first-use occasion, worth thousands in lifetime purchases, before you ever left the building. Abbott Laboratories, which makes Similac, describes its hospital program as a commitment to nourishing babies from the very first feeding. That is the language on their website. Here is how their annual report described the same program. A customer loyalty initiative built around first-use occasions. Those are not the same thing. One sounds medical, one is a revenue strategy. The hospital room is where those two descriptions meet, and only one of them was printed on the discharge bag. 6 brands and practices, ranked by how much of what they tell you is actually about your baby, and how much is about the contract behind the cabinet. Stay until number 1, because the top slot belongs to a system so embedded in American maternity care that most parents never think to question it. By the time this video is over, you will. We pulled the procurement records, the WIC contract filings, the FDA inspection reports released under the Freedom of Information Act, the NEC lawsuit verdicts from 2023 and 2024, the pediatric journal studies from 2011, 2018, and 2022, and the American Academy of Pediatrics policy statements, the ones they changed when the evidence became impossible to ignore. This is not opinion about which formula smells better. This is the paper trail behind the cabinet in your maternity ward. Here is what it says. Number 6. Gerber Good Start, Nestle. The HMO promise. We start here, because it is the gentlest betrayal on this list. Gerber Good Start is owned by Nestle. The Swiss company paid $11.85 billion for the Gerber brand in 2007. Nestle's history with infant formula marketing goes back further than most parents realize. In the late 1970s, the company was at the center of an international consumer boycott over its formula promotion in developing countries. A campaign that ran from 1977 to 1984. That pressure produced the World Health Organization's International Code on the Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes, adopted in 1981. The code banned formula promotion in healthcare settings. In 2018, the International Baby Food Action Network found Nestle in violation of that same code across 14 countries. In 2023, Gerber launched its HMO range, human milk oligosaccharide, positioned as a premium ingredient across its product lines. The marketing described HMO as the most abundant bioactive component in breast milk. Accurate. Here is what the marketing does not say. The HMO used in infant formula is not extracted from breast milk. It is synthesized in a laboratory, primarily derived from fermented yeast or engineered bacteria. The molecule is structurally similar to its natural counterpart. Whether it performs identically in a formula matrix is still being worked through in published research. Gerber charged more for the HMO range. The certainty on the label outpaced the certainty in the science. And across hospital maternity wards, Gerber Good Start samples land in discharge bags alongside the others. The Nestle name is not on the front of the bag. Gerber is. The next brand on this list is currently facing lawsuits in over 20 American states. The product at the center of those lawsuits is still on the maternity ward shelf. Number 5. The discharge bag. The gift that was never a gift. This one is not a brand. It is a mechanism. Formula companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year placing products in hospital maternity wards. The discharge bag, the branded tote you carry out of the hospital on the day you bring your baby home, is the centerpiece of that spend. It contains formula samples, coupons, branded bottle accessories, and parenting guides, often written by the formula company, sometimes containing feeding advice authored by the same company that manufactures the product being recommended. A 2011 research letter published in the journal Pediatrics, authored at Harvard Medical School, found that mothers who received a formula company gift bag were significantly less likely to be breastfeeding exclusively at 2 months postpartum. The effect was sharpest among women who had planned to breastfeed before entering the hospital. The bag did not inform them, it redirected them. And the author of the redirection had a commercial interest in the outcome. In 2012, New York City made national headlines when Mayor Michael Bloomberg asked hospitals to stop distributing formula gift bags. 27 city hospitals agreed. The formula industry's response described the decision as anti-parent. Their language. The American Academy of Pediatrics updated its policy on formula marketing in healthcare settings in 2018. The position statement described commercial formula promotion in hospitals, including discharge bags, as incompatible with supporting breastfeeding. That was 2018. As of 2024, the majority of American hospitals were still handing out the bags. You did not know someone had paid for you to receive it. That was the point. Coming up, the government program that covers half of all American infants, and how the contract behind it actually works. Number 4, the WIC Exclusive Contract System, the government program that chose for you. WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, is the Federal Nutrition Assistance Program. As of 2023, it served approximately 6.6 million participants per month. It covers roughly half of all infants born in the United States. Here is how formula works inside that program. Each state awards an exclusive contract to a single formula manufacturer. The winning company becomes the only brand WIC will cover in that state. In exchange, the manufacturer pays the state a rebate, a cash return per can sold. That rebate can cover up to 90% of the retail price. The state reduces its spending. The winning formula company receives exclusive access to roughly half of all formula-fed infants born in that state. No competition at point of sale. No alternatives available to WIC-eligible families unless they pay full price out of pocket. Mead Johnson, which makes Enfamil, held WIC contracts covering approximately 40% of WIC participants at peak. Abbott, which makes Similac, held much of the remainder. Perrigo, the company that manufactures store-brand formula for Walmart, Costco, and Target under labels including Parent's Choice, Kirkland Signature, and Up and Up, does not hold WIC contracts. Not because its formula fails regulatory standards. Every formula sold in the United States must meet the same nutritional minimums mandated by the FDA's Infant Formula Act, first passed in 1980 and amended in 1986. Perrigo meets those standards. Perrigo does not hold WIC contracts because it cannot afford to offer the same rebate percentage as a company operating at Abbott's scale. Half of American infants are channeled toward a brand, not because it is nutritionally superior, because its parent company can offer the deepest government discount. The pediatricians at the American Academy of Pediatrics do not select the WIC formula. The procurement office does. Number 3, Mead Johnson, Enfamil. The NEC lawsuits they didn't advertise. Enfamil is made by Mead Johnson. Mead Johnson is owned by Reckitt, a British consumer goods company headquartered in Slough, England. Reckitt also makes Dettol, Lysol, and Durex. It acquired Mead Johnson in 2017 for $16.6 billion. In neonatal intensive care units across the country, a separate story was developing. Premature infants, particularly those born before 32 weeks gestation, were being diagnosed with necrotizing enterocolitis, NEC. A gastrointestinal disease that, in severe cases, destroys sections of the intestine. Mortality rates range from 15% to 30%. It is one of the most feared complications in neonatal medicine. Beginning in 2022 and continuing through 2024, a significant volume of lawsuits was filed against Mead Johnson and Abbott by families of premature infants who developed NEC. The central allegation: that cow's milk-based infant formula, when given to extremely premature infants, significantly elevates NEC risk compared to donor human milk, and that both companies had access to research connecting their products to that elevated risk for years before adequate warnings were issued to hospitals or parents. In October 2023, a jury in St. Louis, Missouri, returned a verdict against Mead Johnson in an NEC case. The damages awarded ran into the hundreds of millions of dollars. More verdicts followed in 2024. More cases remain pending. Mead Johnson disputed the verdicts. Its public statements described the claims as lacking scientific merit. The body of peer-reviewed research they were responding to, published in journals including the Journal of Pediatrics and Pediatric Research, with studies dating back to 2011, drew different conclusions. Enfamil is still in hospital maternity ward cabinets. The sample bags are still going home. Number 2 on this list had one factory. In February 2022, that factory shut down. What happened next affected nearly every family with a newborn in America. For number 2, Abbott, Similac, the factory that fed half of America's babies. In February 2022, FDA investigators arrived at Abbott Nutrition's infant formula manufacturing plant in Sturgis, Michigan. What they found ended the operation of the largest formula production facility in the United States. 4 infants who had consumed formula produced at the Sturgis plant had been hospitalized with Chronobacter sakazaki, a rare bacterial infection that can be fatal in newborns. 2 of them died. FDA investigators also found Salmonella Newport in the plant environment. Abbott recalled Similac, Alimentum, and Elecare across multiple product lots. The Sturgis plant suspended production in February 2022. It did not restart until June of that year. The result was the most severe infant formula shortage in American history. At its peak in May 2022, 43% of formula was out of stock nationally, according to Datassembly, a retail analytics firm tracking grocery inventory across 11,000 U.S. stores. In Iowa, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Missouri, out-of-stock rates exceeded 50%. Parents were driving between states. Healthcare providers were rationing supplies for medically fragile infants. The White House invoked the Defense Production Act to accelerate manufacturing and authorized military cargo planes, Operation Fly Formula, to transport product from Europe. Here is the structural fact behind the shortage. At the time of the Sturgis shutdown, Abbott's Michigan plant produced an estimated 40% of all powdered infant formula manufactured in the United States. One company, one plant, nearly half the national supply. That concentration did not happen by accident. It was the predictable result of decades of WIC contracts, hospital placement agreements, and exclusive procurement relationships that had gradually displaced smaller manufacturers from the market. When one plant failed, the system had no cushion built in. Abbott's 2022 earnings communications described the shortage as an industry-wide supply challenge. The FDA inspection reports, released publicly under the Freedom of Information Act, described the conditions at Sturgis in considerably more specific terms. Number 1 on this list is not a brand. It is a practice with its own industry name. That name tells you everything about how the system was designed. Number 1, the hospital formulary system, the cabinet you were never supposed to open. In hospital procurement language, there is a term, the formulary. It is the approved list of products a hospital stocks and uses. The formulary, what sits in the maternity ward cabinet, what gets handed to a mother in the first hours after birth, is not assembled by pediatricians. In most hospitals, it is set by a committee that includes the pharmacy department, hospital administration, and supply chain managers whose priorities include cost reduction, contract compliance, and vendor relationships. Formula companies compete for formulary placement the way pharmaceutical companies compete for prescription lists. They offer supply contracts, rebate structures, educational grants for hospital nursing staff, sponsorships for continuing medical education programs, free product allocations for the NICU that reduce the hospital's own procurement costs. A 2011 survey published in Pediatrics found that 70% of hospital maternity wards in the United States were still distributing commercial formula discharge packs to new mothers. As of 2022, only approximately 5% of U.S. hospitals with maternity units had achieved baby-friendly hospital designation, the WHO and UNICEF certification launched in 1991, which requires facilities to eliminate commercial formula promotion, train all maternity staff in infant feeding support, and implement 10 specific evidence-based steps for protecting newborn nutrition. The remaining 95% operate under the formulary system. What is in that cabinet when your baby is born is not a clinical judgment. It is the result of a procurement decision made weeks, months, or years before your due date, by people who were not in the room, who did not know your name, and whose job was not to determine what was best for your baby. Their job was to manage a supply contract, the brand placed in your hands in the first hours after birth, during the most exhausted, most trusting, most vulnerable moment of new parenthood, was put there by a rebate negotiation, and it was handed to you in a way that made it feel like a recommendation. That is the system at number 1. Not because it is the most dangerous item on this list, because it is the decision that was made before you ever arrived, the one that shaped every other entry above it, and the one that was designed to feel like it was never a decision at all. 3 things that actually changed the outcome. Number 1. The FDA label is the only honest document in the aisle. The FDA's Infant Formula Act requires every formula sold in the United States to meet the same minimum nutritional standards. Enfamil, Similac, Kirkland Signature, Parent's Choice, Up and Up. Same iron minimums, same protein requirements, same caloric density. DHA minimums were standardized across all formulas from 2020. The differences between a $50 branded can and an $18 store brand are largely marketing architecture. The base nutritional foundation is federally mandated and applies equally to every product on that shelf. Before paying a premium for any add-on claim, HMOs, prebiotics, brain-building ingredients, ask for the published clinical trial data, not the label copy, not the hospital pamphlet, the peer-reviewed trial. If the company does not link to it directly and easily, that tells you something about the confidence behind the claim. Number 2. Perrigo, the manufacturer nobody mentions. Perrigo Company is headquartered in Dublin, Ireland, and listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It is the manufacturer behind the store brand formulas sold at Walmart under the Parent's Choice label, at Costco under Kirkland Signature, and at Target under Up and Up, among others. The same FDA regulatory framework, the same inspection requirements, the same nutritional standards as the brands that spent $200 million on hospital placement. The cost difference per ounce runs between 30% and 50% less than the branded equivalent. Perrigo is not a secret company. Its retail relationships are listed in its publicly available SEC filings. Its formula products carry the manufacturer's name on the label. It does not hold WIC contracts, not because of quality, but because of the rebate economics described above. If the formula in your home arrived there because it was in the hospital cabinet, and it felt like the safe choice, pull up the Perrigo store brand equivalent and compare the ingredient panel side by side. The comparison takes 3 minutes. Number 3. The baby-friendly hospital list. In 1991, the World Health Organization and UNICEF launched the Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative. The certification requires hospitals to formally eliminate commercial formula marketing from their facilities, including discharge bags, train all maternity staff in evidence-based infant feeding support, and implement a 10-step protocol for protecting newborn nutrition. As of 2024, approximately 400 U.S. hospitals held baby-friendly designation out of roughly 3,300 facilities with maternity units. If you are currently pregnant and have a choice of delivery hospital, the baby-friendly designation list is publicly maintained and searchable at babyfriendlyusa.org. It does not guarantee a better birth experience. It does mean the hospital has formally removed the procurement contract from the first hours of your baby's life. What gets placed in your hands in those hours matters. Choosing where you give birth is one of the few decisions in this process that belongs entirely to you. Your baby's first formula did not come from a doctor's recommendation. In most cases, it came from a procurement contract signed before your pregnancy test. It sat in a cabinet selected through a rebate negotiation. It arrived in a bag designed by a marketing department. It was handed to you during the most exhausted, most trusting moment of your life, by a nurse who may not have known the purchasing history behind it either. That is not a scandal. It is a system. And systems continue until the people inside them understand how they work. The formula in that cabinet may be exactly what your baby needs. It may be fine. But that should be a decision you made, with full information, not one that was made 3 floors below in a supply chain meeting, and then handed to you as though it were clinical advice. Now you know the difference. If this changed how you think about what was placed in your hands in that maternity ward, the comment section is open. And if you want to see the ingredient panel comparison between the $50 branded can and the $18 store brand side by side, that video is next.